Everyone, my name is Sarah Morris. I'm the head of instruction and engagement at the Emory University Libraries, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video, which is part of a toolkit to support writing across the disciplines here at Emory. What we're going to be talking about today are just some ideas and best practices you can use to help you design research projects for your students in online learning environments. Just to say that this focus will be more on undergraduate student classes, but I think a lot of the ideas here can be adapted for use in other types of teaching or learning scenarios you might be in. So first off, what are some of the benefits of assigning your students a research project? There are many, many benefits to this. Research projects can be really adaptable and flexible. They can fit in a wide range of types of classes, cover a lot of different subjects, and they can take a lot of different forms as well. Aside from the more traditional research paper, you can also have students conduct research for, say, an op-ed assignment, using maybe labs or data to incorporate that into research, have them design a website to share their findings. So there's a lot of different ways students can conduct research, things they can do, and things they can produce. And so within research, there's a huge opportunity to develop a wide range of valuable and transferable skills and to give your students really valuable experience in conducting research and developing all these different skills. A couple of areas here that can come up in a lot of different types of research assignments. Number one is just communication skills. So being able to share your ideas effectively with different audiences using different tools and formats is a huge and valuable part of a research assignment and research project. There's also critical thinking and evaluation skills, which crop up a lot when students are, conducting research. And this is an area where some of our students might struggle a bit. They might not have as much experience with this, particularly around finding evidence or evaluating certain types of sources. So a research assignment can give them really great practice in this, particularly as they're moving further into a discipline or a major or a field of study. It can give them great experience with that. Likewise, searching and information seeking behavior, helping students learn how to find quality information, use it effectively, is another key benefit to having them do a research assignment. And finally, just project management skills. Research is complex and can be quite time consuming. So it can be a great opportunity for students to develop their organization skills, time management skills, and just ways to kind of manage a project. These are all really transferable skills that can take them in a lot of different directions in the future. So again, there's a lot of benefits to having students conduct research here at Emory. There's definitely some challenges to research assignments though. Research is a complex undertaking, and for you as an instructor, it can take a lot of thought to kind of plan out an assignment, to think about your goals, what you want students to get out of it. It can be complicated for undergraduates as well. One key thing to keep in mind is that a lot of our undergraduates might have very different experiences with doing research before they come here to Emory and different experiences during their course of study here at Emory. They could still be really working to develop certain skills and proficiencies that are inherent within the overall research process. So these are things to really consider when you're planning a research assignment, and kind of giving students opportunities to kind of go through that research process in your class. A couple of kind of things to keep in mind here. One is a concept or a theory that comes up an awful lot in information literacy instruction and library instruction circles, and that's threshold concepts, which might have come up for you before. Threshold concepts are essentially kind of these critical moments in your kind of learning process. It's a sort of skill or concept that can be difficult to master, but once you grasp it and master it, it really opens up a whole new arena of learning for you. So within research, threshold concepts can take the form of evidence, again, for example, or being able to evaluate sources. Students might struggle with that or not have as much experience with it, but once they sort of master some of those skills and techniques and gain more confidence in being able to identify quality sources, identify evidence for their research, they can suddenly start engaging in much more complex or high level research assignments. So one thing for you to consider is ways to develop research assignments that can help students master these often difficult concepts and skills and gain these new experiences. Thinking about ways to kind of structure and set up an assignment to kind of help them, achieve those goals, have those experiences, and be able to progress in their skills and competencies around research can be really important to consider. There's also challenges just regarding online environments in general, which kind of connect with and sort of compound sometimes the challenges already apparent or inherent in structuring a research assignment for an undergraduate class. One is just the challenge with distance and connection and community building in an online space. Research assignments can be complex. They can take a lot of time, and it's can be difficult when you're kind of maybe not have as much face-to-face interaction, so to speak, or kind of synchronous interaction with your students. Maybe they don't have as much with each other as well. Those can all sort of pose some challenges around, empowering students with research and helping them to kind of get through this process and project in your class. Likewise, there can be difficulties with students accessing materials, help, and resources when they're in an online situation. And particularly now during the COVID-19 pandemic, for instance, we have many students engaging with us overseas at the moment, and that can obviously pose time zone difficulties. For instance, if they wanted to schedule a help appointment at the library, there's challenges around that. So it can just be good to keep in mind sort of maybe what students have access to, if they're having any kind of maybe technology or internet connection issues that could impact their ability to find sources or use materials you'd like or use a tool you want them to use. All of these can be additional considerations to kind of add on to the already complex nature of structuring a research project when you're in an online environment, kind of considering where students are coming from and how to build that community of researchers and scholars in your class can just take on additional challenges. However, there are some things you can do and can consider to help you structure your research assignments in an online environment. And the idea with all of these is really just thinking about one, kind of undergraduates and kind of research best practices more generally, how to set up and establish a kind of research assignment and experience that's going to be empowering, help students achieve your goals, help them to develop those really critical transferable research skills and competencies. The other area of consideration is, of course, the unique nature of kind of an online environment. Are there ways to kind of maybe mitigate some of the challenges there with your research assignment, or to kind of lean into it and take advantage of some of the things an online environment has to offer? So a couple of things you can consider here. Number one, and I think this is important whether you're online or offline, is to consider ways to break down and scaffold your content. As we mentioned, undergrad students can have a lot of different experiences with conducting research. There can be kind of pain points and tricky elements there. And research is just really complex and involves a lot of different skills, a lot of different types of work. So finding ways to break down that assignment and kind of build in some additional like check-in opportunities can often be really valuable. It can be a way for you to make sure students are on track, they're having success, they're doing well, so that you don't get final papers at the end and are kind of wondering what sort of went awry here, or notice that something didn't seem to quite click or gel. If you have that sort of scaffolding and breakdowns of the assignment in place, you can often kind of identify an issue as it crops up and sort of help address it with the student. This can also be very important for an online environment where you're already dealing with perhaps less sort of opportunities to connect and engage with your students. Having some of those sort of chunked out assignments or scaffolded content can again be ways to kind of just continue to engage around research and make sure everyone's doing well. Related to this is sort of building in opportunities to practice skills. So you might know kind of going into this that you're going to have students do something really new. Maybe they need to work with data sets as part of their research, or perhaps you notice that some students have difficulty kind of reading scholarly articles. So, identifying spaces where maybe some of them need a bit more practice and kind of introducing opportunities to do that can be really valuable for a research assignment. Again, just to make sure everyone's kind of having success, they're developing their skills, they're on track with their assignment and your expectations for them. One great example of a way to kind of both break down your research process and have some practice is to introduce an annotated bibliography assignment. It can be a way for students to find sources, to evaluate them. It gives you insight into, are they looking in appropriate places for material? Are they selecting appropriate sources? Are they able to work with them? There can be a lot of ways to kind of check in and make sure things are going well before you move into, say, your final paper assignment. You can also introduce opportunities for reflection, which again, in an online class can be so important just to check in, have those chances to communicate in different ways, make sure students are doing okay. You can have something like a writing journal or a series of discussion board posts where students might reflect and share on their research process, their writing process, give them just a chance to kind of think about how things are going, just share, and give you a chance to sort of check back in with everybody. This can be a private opportunity, or for instance, in a discussion board, a chance to even build community in the class and let people share with each other. The last two ideas here are just ways you can perhaps even lean into the online space with your research assignments. One are just considering different creative applications. You can certainly have students write a traditional research paper online or offline, but when you're online, you might consider ways to maybe incorporate a video presentation component or have them design a website or something visual that they could show to the class on Zoom. There could just be some different ways that you can sort of leverage that space to give them maybe a chance to use a new tool or just a different way to kind of translate and communicate their research. Multiple deliverables can also be something you might consider here. Again, when you're online, having those extra times and points of check in, making sure everyone's doing okay. So they could have some different assignments associated with the overall research paper. You might have them do opportunities just to use the Zoom environment to produce different types of deliverables and share their research in different ways. So finally, just taking all that in mind, thinking about, how to help your students achieve their goals, how to perhaps overcome some of the challenges around being online, for instance, with, community building and ways to kind of lean into that space and have people use different tools. These are a couple of different assignments or activities that you might consider implementing. One is something that's called the everything but the paper, which is, as it says on the tin, you have everyone sort of step through the research process. Maybe they develop a topic, they write a proposal, they find sources. You do everything except write the final paper. You can flip this as well and have people do writing assignments that obviously don't involve finding or incorporating sources. And the idea here is just to give people practice with the different aspects of conducting research, which again can be that can involve a lot of different tasks and skills and abilities and competencies. So kind of breaking that down and giving people a chance to sort of practice some things and then maybe move on to a research paper where they're kind of weaving all of that together. They're having to find the sources, use them, write about everything, pull everything together. So that can be one thing you could consider sort of in an online space. This can also be handy if there might be challenges in, say, the type of research you want them to do in terms of accessing sources. For instance, if you really want to lean into using archives. There's obviously some difficulties doing that right now during the pandemic and with online education and people remote learning. So you might have maybe an online exhibit or an online archive exhibit where people are just sort of using that. So maybe it's a little more structured or narrow, but they're still getting the chance to kind of engage with archival materials, think about them, learn with them, incorporate them into their writing. So again, it might look a little different, but still gives people the give people the experiences and skill building opportunities you want them to have. Likewise, breaking down information and sort of digital literacy skill building activities. Again, maybe you have students practice evaluating sources before they move on to writing a full-fledged paper. Group research assignments can also be really valuable in an online space, a chance to build community and a chance to have students engage in multiple deliverables or communicating their research in different formats. The group is working together, perhaps they all write an individual paper, but come together to design a website where they share their ideas, or do a poster together. So again, ways to build community and just think about how they can gain different experiences and skills with research, share their ideas in different ways, and kind of lean into sort of the online environment we are in currently. So there's definitely some ways to learn more. The libraries are always happy to partner with you on developing research assignments. The links here are a couple of different websites and toolkits we have, including the Flexible Teaching Toolkit that's hosted at CFDE. We have a Support for Flexible Teaching Guide, which has many more assignment ideas and expands on things mentioned in this video. And of course, our instruction services for faculty and TAs, where you can learn more about how to work with librarians on developing research assignments for your class. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this gave you some ideas and things you can think about in your teaching. And please feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you.